Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, and joining me today all the way from the great state of Florida is Matt. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Hey, Steve. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on and really appreciate you reaching out. We are a little bit past, and I'm sure you can attest. We were talking a little bit before the show here that you guys are down in the Florida area. You're pass holders. And have you been over to Walt Disney World since November 1st?
No, we have not been able to go yet. We've got hopefully some weekends coming up just with work, and my son's in school now. So it's just been a lot of, hey, we're busy, but we are gonna get over there eventually because we want to see the decorations.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. We're going to talk about your guys' latest cruise, which was a Halloween on the High Seas, 3 days on the Disney Dream. But it's amazing. November 1st hits, and pretty much we go from Halloween straight on into Christmas. So even though we're going to kind of roll back a little bit and talk about Halloween, I know Christmas is on everybody's mind, especially down there, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've been playing Christmas music at work for the past 3 weeks, so I didn't even wait for Halloween to finish.
That's funny. Yeah, I think we heard our first Christmas song yesterday on the radio. My youngest were like driving somewhere. He's like, oh no, I can't believe it. Christmas stuff's on here already. So we're joining you as well. Well, let's kind of jump into it. Give us a little background about yourself, Matt, and your guys', how did you guys get into Disney? Did you, being down in Central Florida, I'm assuming you guys went to the parks first, or did you find Disney Cruise Line first, and how did that come out?
No, absolutely. You know, growing up, my family, we're always, ever since we were here in Florida, we were pass holders. So it's just kind of been in our blood, if you will, to go to Disney and to, enjoy the parks. And then when I was younger, actually, I went on the Magic a year or two after the cruise started. So we did it fairly early, which was really cool. And then the Wonder not long after that. And then when the new ships came out, we got to do our first trip on the Dream back in 2011. So or was it 2010? I don't remember. Whenever the Dream first sailed for the first time, we were on there. I haven't done the Fantasy yet, but I'm hoping to soon.
Perfect. So were you on the very first sailing of the Dream then?
It was not the very first one, but it was within the first year.
Okay. And do you remember, I got to go back on this. Do you remember much about that trip on the Magic when you guys sailed on it?
Not a ton. I remember little things. I was a teenager, so I remember spending a little bit of time in the teenage club. I remember Castaway Cay, and I remember Animator's Palette being really awesome. But I don't remember a ton of those original trips. That's a marriage and 2 kids ago. So you're going to have to excuse me on that.
No, I know how that goes. I mean, it's hard enough for me to remember what was going on last week, much less back when I was a teenager. But that would be fun if you have any pictures, anything that jogs you remember, you want to talk about that first sailing on the Magic. That's one thing I've been trying to figure out, how to find somebody who's had an experience on that to kind of talk about what it was like then and what it's like now. So
I'll take a look and see what I can find, because that would be kind of interesting to go down that path again.
Yeah, if it jogs your memory, you find some stuff, let's go for it and see what we can work out. But I think that'd be kind of cool. All right, we were talking beforehand. This is your 5th cruise, and where have you guys cruised before you went on this one with Disney?
So with Disney, all I've really done is the Bahamas with them. So I haven't really gone anywhere else. I've done Caribbean cruises with other lines, but never with Disney. So I've done Nassau, and of course I've done Castaway Cay with Disney.
Let's talk about getting over to Port Canaveral then, since you are fairly local. I'm assuming you guys drove over there the day of the cruise. Do you have any tips for people, especially maybe like people like myself that are flying in, renting cars and getting over to Port Canaveral the day of the cruise? Any advice you have?
Absolutely. It's really not difficult to get there. It's all connected to the different highways in the area. I mean, the best thing I could tell anybody is get as early of a check-in as you can, and just get in there and get on that boat. When we were out there on this last one, it really didn't take us long to get in at all. I think we got kind of lucky, actually. We came up to the terminal, and we were getting ready to get into the line to go through security, and someone says, hey, come over here. And it was a really short line. And it was like, oh, okay, great. So that's a fun little thing. Mm-hmm. And, we were Castaway Club members because we've been on the boat before. So we got to go through a little bit of a quicker line. And pretty much it just worked out that the minute we got there, the minute we checked in and we got, our Key to the World card and all that stuff, it was time to get on. So it just kind of worked out where we timed it pretty perfectly.
That's perfect. Do you guys stop for like the pictures and things like that? Or do you kind of, now that, you've been on this your 5th time, do you kind of just kind of blow past that and just get on the ship?
We splurged a little bit this year, and we got the whole package, which they basically shutters, I think it's called. I'm not a big fan of the photography on board. I wish Disney would do PhotoPass, but we've splurged for their big package. And so, yes, we stopped for pretty much any picture we could.
Okay. I guess we need to go back just a little bit. So this was a 3-day on the Disney Dreams. First day is embarkation. The next day you guys go to Nassau. Second day you're at Castaway Cay, and then you're back to Port Canaveral. Why did you guys pick this cruise?
Last year we actually went on the Maritime cruise, and that was a lot of fun, but we didn't have the greatest weather. And so there were just certain things we weren't able to do. So this time we didn't even necessarily pick it for the Halloween theming, which was neat to see, but we picked it honestly because we wanted better weather, especially for Castaway Cay.
That totally makes sense. And we'll talk about the Very Maritime cruise here at the end because I got a couple questions about that. But let's kind of concentrate on this one. And so you guys get on the ship. What are the things that you guys like to do first? Do you head up to Cabanas, or are you more going to the sit-down restaurant that's open, or what do you guys like to do?
So in the past, it's always been, let's hit Cabanas and let's just kind of walk around and explore. This time we did hit Cabanas because we were all hungry. But what we wanted to do this time is we brought a backpack on board with some swimsuits and whatnot, and we immediately got to things like the Aqueduct and the Nemo splash pad because my son, my 4-year-old, he was finally big enough to do the Aqueduct. So we were going to make sure he got on there this time because he was talking about it the whole time because he wasn't tall enough last year. And then my 2-year-old, we made sure he had time in the Nemo splash area and just all around swimming and having a good time before we had to go get ready for the drill.
Perfect. Hey, you know what? I'm just blowing past all the things that we normally talk about. So who all went on this cruise before we get into the rest of it?
No, absolutely. So it was myself, my wife, my 4-year-old son, my 2-year-old son, and then my mom, my dad, and my sister.
Okay. So talking about the Aqueduct, getting on board, we are huge fans of the Aqueduct, my kids. If you get on board as quickly as you do, are the lines fairly short? And I know it differs from cruise to cruise, but is that a good time to jump on and try and do that?
We waited, Steve, I think it was about 20 minutes, maybe.
Okay.
And so it wasn't that bad. Like, it moved pretty quickly. And honestly, I didn't have my watch on at the time, so I wasn't really paying attention. I just was kind of excited because my 4-year-old was just having conniption. He was so excited he was finally doing this thing.
Yeah. What did he think of it after you got done?
Oh, he had a great time. He wanted to do it again immediately. We didn't do it right away, but we did do it again the next day.
Well, this is a Halloween cruise. What was kind of the theming like? Did they have Halloween stuff out as soon as you got to the port? I know once you get on the ship, there's stuff on board in the windows and whatnot. What were some of the decorations you saw, or what was kind of the theming you saw?
So I don't really remember much in the terminal. That's not to say it wasn't there, but I don't remember it. But the minute you get onto the boat, now when we went on the Christmas one back in December, like you're immediately hit with a big Christmas tree. Well, this time it was kind of neat. It was a pumpkin tree, and it was a little bit smaller than the Christmas tree, but it had these different like carved jack-o'-lanterns hanging down. Now, and it was kind of a neat thing to see. And then they had kind of picture the decorations, the fall decorations at the parks, the different Mickey heads and whatnot. They had little subtle things like that.
Okay, and that was mostly around the atrium, but did they have it around the rest of the ship as well, or was it mostly just the atrium?
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember seeing anything else outside. Oh, you know what else? I do remember that. If you look, like you said, the windows, the portholes and whatnot, they had little decorations on it that made them look like jack-o'-lanterns and things of that nature.
So you eventually have to put your clothes back on, do the sail-away drill and all that kind of stuff. Are you guys the type of family that likes to go for the sail-away party, or what are your thoughts on that?
We definitely did. If I could go back real quick to the muster drill, just definitely. A little tip. If you are a family with small children, bring your stroller to the muster drill because they will put you basically right next to the door so you can get going right away as soon as it's done so you can hit the elevators. It was just something we did accidentally this time, but it was an awesome little perk. I told my wife that as long as our kids can fit in the stroller, we're putting them there.
So your son's 15 and he's like still in a stroller.
Exactly. And if he's as tall as me, it's going to be awkward. So
that's awesome. Well, that's a great tip. I've never really thought about that before. So, because it invariably, it seems like as soon as that muster drill gets over, the sail-away party is just about to start up on the top deck. So if you got a little bit of a headway there, especially with younger kids, that gets you up there. Plus, you've got to stand there sometimes for up to 30 minutes or more. So having a place for them to sit's got to make it a lot nicer for them as well.
No, absolutely. And to your point, it did allow us to get up to the sail away party right away. We definitely wanted to do that. And I like kind of watching as we sail away too. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily go down into the mosh pit that can happen down there. But what I do like to do is go up on the deck above where the stage is and watch down there. And then once they're done, go up to the front and watch us sail out.
Oh, yeah. My wife and I love doing that as well. And I'll never forget, I think I've told this story before, and it doesn't necessarily totally fit right here, but it does. On our trip out of Miami, as that sail away party was happening, they sound the horn. There was a guy that came up to my wife and I, put his arms around us, and he's like, "This is the greatest thing in the world." He goes, "The parks, forget about them. That's crazy. This is a vacation." He just kind of bounded off as we started sailing away. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, he kind of just set the tone for the trip, and it was just fun after that. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we love doing that as well. So what, having the four of you, what type of cabin did you guys book this time?
We had a balcony room. I don't remember the exact size, but it was we were on the 10th floor, and it was a balcony room right out onto the water, which we loved doing. Initially, for my wife who had never taken, kiddos onto a trip like that before back in December, she was a little hesitant about that with, because our boys like to climb and whatnot. But very quickly we realized they put a ton of stuff in place to prevent things from that happening.
Yeah, that door is really heavy getting out there. We kind of felt the same way because our youngest is a climber when he was younger, and so we kind of felt the same way. But the door's pretty heavy, and do they have the tables and chairs still out there? Because one time I heard that they'd removed them off the bigger ships, but I think they went back out.
I remember seeing that they had removed them too, but for the past two cruises, they've been on there for us.
Okay.
So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and like you said, that once you get on there, you see that the chances of something like that happening is pretty small. But
absolutely,
yeah. So plenty of room in the stateroom for you guys. Do you guys generally gravitate towards the balcony, or have you the porthole rooms, or just the inside cabins before?
I'm trying to think back. For the Dream, it's pretty much, and I've been on the Dream 3 times. It's always been a balcony for us. I have a hard time remembering back to the Wonder and the Magic. And I like the balcony. I like just, because there are quiet moments every now and then where I like just going out there and sitting, and especially at night once the boys are asleep. My wife and I a few times snuck out there and just sat with each other and talked about the day. And it's just a great way to unwind and relax as you hear the water kind of passing below.
Yeah, I think that's just like one of the magical parts about sailing is having that door open and see the water go by as you're kind of cruising along. So, well, perfect. Well, let's talk about dining then. You guys have been on the Dream quite a few times. What are your thoughts, or how was your rotation this time? And did you guys go to the restaurants every night, or did you and your wife go up to Palo one night, or Remy?
One day I would like to try Palo or Remy. I don't think, for me personally, I don't think it makes sense on the smaller cruises, the 3 days, because I don't want to give up time with the rest of my family. Now, if we were on a 4-day or larger, absolutely, I would try that. But this time we just went up to the main restaurants. We started with Royal Palace. Night 2 was Animators, and night 3 was Enchanted Garden.
Okay. Anything stand out on any of those restaurants since you guys have been up there quite a few times?
Our serving team was awesome this time. There was a moment in the second night, I think, where our server, Relva, I believe his name was, and like I said, I'm trying to remember back then, but he just started doing magic tricks for my 4-year-old, and they were just, he had us all dying, and he remembered all of our orders and all these things, and him and our assistant server were really great. And actually, something that I noticed this time was the head server was out and about a lot more than I think I've ever seen them, just interacting with guests and coming to tables, checking in on us. All in all, we had a great experience with our wait staff. We actually did something different this year thanks to this podcast. I never even realized that you could go eat breakfast at the regular restaurants. Mm-hmm. I just never knew that was a possibility. We will never go back to Cabanas for breakfast again, I think, because we went up to we went to Enchanted Garden on Saturday morning and Sunday morning, and it was fantastic. We had such a great time, and it was so much quieter, but the food was still the same. It was great.
Yeah, it's a lot more relaxed, isn't it? And the service is pretty quick too. It's not like you're waiting a long time to get the food either. So it's a great way to do it if you don't want to deal with the hustle and bustle of Cabanas, right?
Absolutely. In Enchanted Garden, it was actually a buffet that they had set up. So, but you, at the same time, you could order like made to order omelets and things like that. I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear my 2-year-old's in here. He's actually wearing his Key to the World card and having a great time.
Oh, perfect. We should get him on and see what his thoughts were about the cruise as well. So. No, I totally agree with you on that. You know, a 3-day cruise, we're kind of the same way. I like to spend time with the family. The longer cruises, that's when we kind of tend to try and fit in a Palo, or I don't know, we haven't been on the bigger ships yet for Remy, but someday we'll venture out and do that as well.
Yeah, I really want to try Palo and Remy. I could have done it my cruise 2 cruises ago, but it had been so long since I had been on one that I just wanted to experience the restaurants on the new ship. Like I said, someday.
Definitely. You know, both our cruises last year, we had one in the spring, and then one in the summer. It was kind of the same way with the head waiter. I wonder if they've made like more of an effort across the fleet to have them come around and interact with the guests and stuff, because it was actually a lot of fun. We talked to, especially the one where it was just my wife on the Wonder, we talked to him for a good, we were in the later seatings and most of the restaurant had emptied out, but we talked to him for a good 15 or 20 minutes. There's about 6 of us just kind of joking around a lot of different things. So it's kind of cool when they reach out and do that. So I'm glad you had a good experience with that.
Absolutely.
So any other thoughts on food on board the Dream this time? Anything on the quick service stuff or anything else that you guys experienced?
You know, funny enough, and this is something we typically do, we didn't really get any quick service this time. I just think we packed so much into our day that we didn't have a ton of downtime. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like we had time to go and, get pizza or, go over to Flo's for a burger or something like that. It didn't happen. We packed so much time during the day that we were just wiped out. And when it was time for bed, we went to bed.
Well, I'm assuming you guys had since you got younger kids, you had the early seating. Did you guys take in any of the shows afterwards, or what did you think of that, or how did that work?
Absolutely. I'm a kind of a nerd for that stuff, so I always want to go to it. And my wife, when we went last year, it was when Beauty and the Beast first was kind of fairly new. So they were doing double showings of that. So she didn't get to see the Golden Mickeys last year. Mm-hmm. So this year, when we were back to all 3 shows, I'm like, well, we definitely want to go. So first night was Golden Mickeys, which I hadn't seen since the early 2000s, which was awesome. Second night was Beauty and the Beast. And the third night was Believe, which I love Disney's Believe. So I could watch that constantly. Frankly, I could watch all of them constantly because they're all really, really good.
Did your kids go with you to the shows, or did they go to the clubs?
They did go to the shows with us. So we've never actually done the club. One of the things we did do this time was we went to an open house on our Nassau day because Caleb, my son, he really wanted to see the club. And frankly, I wanted to see it too. So we went in there and we checked it out. And once again, it's one of those things where if we were on a little bit of a longer cruise, I think we'd let him go in there if he wanted to spend some time there. But because we didn't have a ton of time, we wanted to spend time together and really do that. But I did love piloting the Millennium Falcon. That was pretty wild.
What is that like? So it doesn't actually move, but the screen moves, right? Yeah.
You know what it is, and I don't want to ruin the magic for anyone, but it's just video of Star Tours pumped into the screen of the Millennium Falcon. Uh-huh. My hope is that when Galaxy's Edge finally opens and we get this Millennium Falcon attraction, maybe they could bring something like that to the kids club on board, because that would be pretty wild.
I mean, with the 3 new ships coming too, who knows what kind of technology they're going to add into those ships. So it's going to be neat to see.
Absolutely. The kids club, though, was really cool. My son both of my sons loved Andy's room. Mm-hmm. And then we spent a little bit of time in the Falcon, and then we kind of jetted off to our next thing. But no, they came to the shows with us. I think my 2-year-old stayed up through all of them, and my 4-year-old fell asleep through all of them.
Okay, and Beauty and the Beast wasn't too scary for him at all?
No, we had seen it last year. My sons don't spook super easy, although there was one thing Halloween-wise that did get a little spooky for him, which I can talk about a little bit later. But no, I think my oldest, he fell asleep so fast it didn't matter, and my 2-year-old, I just think he was so into what was happening that he didn't know to be scared, if that makes sense.
Right. No, everybody's kid's different. I totally understand that. So, well, let's kind of talk about how you guys filled your day. So after that first night, your next day is in Nassau, and we were talking a little bit beforehand. You guys decided to make that a ship day. Mm-hmm. Was this the Halloween day, or was it the next? I'm assuming this was the Halloween day.
It was the Halloween day. Okay. Halloween day was in Nassau. So, we opened up, we did breakfast at Enchanted Garden, and then there were a few characters we wanted to go meet. So we kind of went around the ship, got in line for some pictures, and did that. After that, we did our open house at the kids club. Then that was our second time we went back to Cabanas just for lunch, just to eat a little bit. And then after that, it was a lot more pool fun.
Okay.
So we did, my oldest did the Mickey slide a few times. That was when he got to do the Aqueduct again. And my 2-year-old spent a good amount of time in the Nemo splash pad. He's still in diapers, so he can't actually go into the pools, but the splash pad's a great spot for him to go crazy and have fun, which he did.
What were the crowds like that day, just out of curiosity?
I would say moderate. I don't think, now I've never stayed on board on a Castaway Cay day, but like they say the ship is just empty. I don't think it was that light, but it was fairly light. Like I think once again we waited maybe 30 minutes for the Aqueduct, if that. It wasn't long.
Okay, so maybe about half the people got off in Nassau or so.
Yep. And then after that, it was, I believe it was trick-or-treating at that point.
How did that work for trick-or-treating?
So what they do is they put a little card in your stateroom saying, hey, here are all the spots where you can come and trick-or-treat and get candies, or different candy and whatnot. And it was scattered throughout the ship. I think it was mainly on decks 3 through 5. And, they had one on one end and one on the other. And you just kind of, went in a line and were able to hit everything. My boys were dressed up as Pooh Bear and Tiggers. They were kind of hits, and everyone was freaking out about them. It was kind of funny. One crew member, actually, it was funny. He pulled my 2-year-old up to the front of the line. He goes, you don't wait, because that's a cute Pooh Bear, so come on up here.
So how do the trick-or-treating stations work? Is it kind of like Mickey's Not So Scary in the parks? Is that how they kind of set them up?
So I've never been to a Not So Scary, but I imagine so. They just have an area where a few crew members are kind of scooping candy into your bags and whatnot, but they also have different crew members throughout the area kind of saying, okay, hey guys, the line starts right here, come hop in here, and you just kind of follow the path. And they do their best as well to make sure that there are, clear pathways for the other people trying to walk by, because not everyone's going to be trick-or-treating, so they want to make sure that everyone can get by as well.
So after trick-or-treating, how did the rest of the Halloween fun go the rest of the day?
So that was a kind of our big Halloween thing. We're not a huge Halloween family. It's just not something we've ever really done. We'll do different, fall festivals at our church and whatnot. But this was like, hey, we got to take them trick-or-treating. I think we're never going to get an experience like this again. Mm-hmm. So, and then the one other thing that they did do was, I know they did a few different dance parties that we weren't able to do because they did it at certain times that we had other things planned. And then the first day, the one thing I didn't mention, they actually had a spooky story, they called it. And this was just in the main atrium right by the Halloween tree that I mentioned. And it, to me, and I could be wrong, so if someone knows better, please correct me, but it looked like the caretaker from the Haunted Mansion, like the one alive person in the entire Haunted Mansion, him and his dog. It looked like he was telling a story. That's what it looked like they were dressed as. And he told the story of the Headless Horseman. The one thing I would say is that did spook my 4-year-old a little bit. So if there are anyone with young kids, just keep in mind there are some things that maybe someone our age wouldn't think is scary, but someone a little younger might have.
And do you remember, did they do this just one time, or was it a couple times as far as, because it was in the evening, right after dinner?
This was actually just before dinner.
Okay.
It was right after we had sailed away because we were waiting in line to meet Mickey at the time. And that's when it happened. So I feel like they might have done it before because I heard like a similar announcement come on, but I don't know if there was more than that because we didn't seek it out.
And then did they keep the tree up the whole cruise, or did they take it down? Okay.
They did. It's fairly big. Uh-huh. So it's not the size of the Christmas tree that they put up, but it's not something that they could just take down very easily. My guess is it would be kind of like we were talking about at the beginning where November 1st hits and all the Christmas decorations go up. My guess is it's probably like that.
I think Christy, she'd gone on a Labor Day cruise, and as she was getting off, they were getting ready for their first Halloween on the High Seas cruise, and I believe that was on the Dream as well, so it starts that early, all the way back then. So, well, perfect. Anything else that second day that you guys did that we haven't talked about?
Pirate Night.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. We love the fireworks. And last year, because of weather, we got the fireworks, but we didn't get the shows beforehand. Okay. So we actually got to see a really fun little pirate show with Jack Sparrow that led into Buccaneer Blast, which is one of our favorite parts.
They get the kids up there dancing and everything else during the party. Do your kids go up there for anything like that?
They were all up there. My 4-year-old was once again knocked out, but my 2-year-old was up and about. And I think my dad actually had my 4-year-old at the time. We were just kind of standing back, letting him sleep, and we had my 2-year-old. He loves watching that stuff. So
your 2-year-old's he's gonna be the one to watch when he gets older, isn't he?
Well, my 4-year-old is super adventurous and does all that as well. It's just the thing is that he went kind of crazy that day, and he did a lot, so he was ready for bed. And frankly, so was I.
Just my youngest is the same way. Like he's the energy one of the two, but yeah, it's fun. So awesome. Did you and your wife dress up for Pirate Night too?
I mean, I put the bandana on at one point. We didn't really do it. It's not that we wouldn't do it. It's just that we didn't really make the effort to do it because it just didn't happen. So.
Oh, no,
but it's not a situation where we're like, oh, well, we don't want to do that. It's just we didn't think about it.
No worries. I still haven't done it yet. But the next cruise, my youngest and I we're making a plan now to actually dress up a little bit for Pirate Night more than we've done in the past. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So okay. So on to Castaway Cay. Now you've been there. Well, you know what? Let's go back and talk about the weather a little bit. You said in the Very Maritime cruise it was a little bit rough, I guess, going around that time last December. This time it sounds like it was a lot better. Oh,
the weather was perfect. It really was. We had no issues. The funny part is, and we'll talk about Castaway Cay in a minute, but when we got there, our cruise director comes on and like you could tell that she was a little nervous because she goes, it says that it's going to rain a little bit, but it's the tropics. It's always that way. And then we got out there and it looked a little, I don't want to say it looked nasty, but it looked a little like it might rain. And then it was nothing. It was perfect for the whole day. And she got on and talked at the end of the night after Believe and said it was supposed to rain all day and it didn't rain at all. So it was a fantastic trip weather-wise.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's talk about Castaway Cay. You guys have been there a few times. What's kind of the things that you guys like to do?
So we typically will get off as early as we can, which is what we did this time because we didn't get a ton of time last year. So we wanted to make sure that we got a good spot near the beach because my boys, they love the water, but they also love playing in the sand and all these things. And we wanted to be by Cookies as well, so we didn't have to walk super far for lunch. And so we got out there and we found a great spot, and we were a little like, wow, there's really not a lot of people out here. That's interesting. And we just noticed that not a ton of people came off the boat. A good amount did, but not as many as I've seen in the past. And I think what happened was there were a lot of first-time cruisers this go-around who didn't really realize what Castaway Cay was all about. So I feel a little sorry for them. We got in the water, we played. Then my wife and I, we had never done Pelican Plunge, which is the little kind of playground slides that go right into the ocean. Mm-hmm. So my sister, my wife and I, we went over there and did that a few times, which was a ton of fun. We were going to take my 4-year-old because he's tall enough, but we were just a little worried he might get a little spooked when he lands in the water and not know how to handle that. So we just said, well, next time. That's another reason to come again.
And especially, I didn't catch it the first time. I thought the slides were the same. And I don't want to give it away too much, but one of them's a lot faster than the other one.
Oh, one of them is much faster than the other one.
I think I went down the slow one the first time, and then I went to the second one, and it was like, boom, you're like, turn, and you're in the water. So especially if you're 4 and you didn't know that was coming, I could see
so you see, I did it the other way. I did the fast one first, and when I went down the second one, I'm like, all right, here we go. Okay, not as fun.
Yeah. So was that the first time you guys did that, or?
That was the first time I had done it, yes.
Okay.
So last year, we weren't able to dock right away last year. That's the reason why we weren't able to get on. We actually ended up on our Very Maritime cruise. We tried docking 3 times before the captain was able to do it. Wow. And the water was just so rough, they were worried about damaging the dock. The boat crashing into the ship. Mm-hmm. And so we only got about 2 hours on Castaway Cay last time. So we just kind of went, spent some time in the water. And frankly, it was really cold. So I don't know how I would have felt about, submerging myself that much. This time, though, the weather was perfect. We made sure we went and did it this time.
Well, anything else you guys did while you were on Castaway Cay?
We ate a lot of barbecue. Cookies, last time, once again, we didn't get it because we didn't get off till after lunchtime. So this time I made sure we went and we kind of loaded up on it. And it was cool because now keeping in mind, it had been quite a few years since I had been to Castaway Cay to eat, but I felt like they had added a good amount more menu wise. And I could be completely wrong on that, but I thought there was more variety than just the ribs and the burgers that I remembered. So that was nice to see.
Have you guys ever been down to Serenity Bay?
I have not. I think my folks have been, but that would have been a long time ago. Okay. Once again, it's one of those things where, if we were there a little bit longer, and maybe if my kids were a little bit older and they were off doing things with the clubs, then I would go out and try Serenity Bay.
Yeah, I think I might try and take a walk down there the next time we go there just to kind of check it out. But we're kind of like you. We like to spend the time with the kids and kind of play around and snorkel, pelican plunge, all that kind of stuff. Well, perfect. Well, it sounds just like a fun day on Castaway Cay. So about when did you guys make it back to the ship?
We left the island, I think it was 2:30. I mean, we had a full day at that point. And I know my wife, she did not want to leave. She could have stayed there all day. She's such a beach person. And it really was her first time because she didn't get to experience a ton last time. But she was a good sport. And my son really wanted to do the Midship Detective Agency. So we went back on and he and I went and did that after kind of getting ready for the night.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. That's something I've never done. I know you go around the ship and there's a whole story to it. How do you start it? Where do you start it at? And how does it work?
So there are 2 spots you can start at, either on deck 2 right outside Enchanted Garden, or on deck 5, not far from the Oceaneers Club, actually. It's right near there. And the basic idea for the people who don't know is you get a little card with which I'm assuming it's like almost like an RFID chip inside. And it's basically you go around to the different paintings throughout the ship, the animated paintings, the magical paintings. And the idea is you're solving a crime with Mickey, or you're part of the Midship Detective Agency. We did the one about the missing paintings. You could have also done the one about the missing Dalmatians, or a one that looked really fun with the Muppets, but we kind of ran out of time, so we didn't get to do it all.
When you get to the starting point, that's when you pick which one you want to do.
Exactly. You have at that point you can choose, do you want to do one of the ones with Mickey, Donald, or Goofy, which are the Dalmatians or the paintings, or the Muppet one.
Okay. And just for people that have never done it before, how long does it take about roughly?
I think we were out walking maybe 45 minutes. So, and now there are times, and what I would caution, I don't want to even say caution, just warn people about, is there are times where you'll be waiting because maybe you'll come up to a painting at the same time someone else is doing the exact same thing. So just be ready. There might be a little bit of wait time, but it was never unbearable. It still went pretty quickly.
Well, how did you guys fill up the rest of the day? You guys do the Midship Detective Agency, and then it's probably on to dinner. Let's talk about that, and then like kind of how the evening ended for you guys.
Absolutely. That was our formal night. My mom always wants, and my wife too at that, they always want one kind of really nice picture of the whole family dressed up. So that was our night where we kind of got gutsied up and got some really nice pictures. And then we went to dinner. Our last night was at Enchanted Garden. And then after that, it was Disney's Believe, a little bit of shopping after that, and then off to bed because we had to get up early the next day. We never wait. We always do the early exit when we're leaving. We'd rather just carry our own luggage off and get going.
You haven't really talked to anybody about shopping before, but do you guys, since you had the photo package this time, is there anything that you guys do to kind of remember your trip? Anything special? And I've got something I'll share, but I'm just kind of curious if there's something that you guys do. We like to, as a family, we sometimes will just get one souvenir piece just to be like, hey, this was from this trip. For me, I like collecting the little kind of figurines. Like I have a miniature partner statue from the parks, and I also have the little miniature Mickey from the Magic that's in the atrium. And this time I got Donald from the Dream. Oh, perfect. One of the things we like to do is try and find either a photo. We haven't bought the photo pass for it before, but maybe the second or last night we'll go up and see if we can find one good photo that they may have caught on the trip. And then I'm not sure if they do it as much like in the Caribbean trips, but like on the over in Europe, and then we did the one to Norway. You could always get like a postcard that talks about it's 2015 Norway or something like that. So we'll get something like that postcard, and then that picture, and then we'll frame it. And we've got that kind of in the hallway upstairs, so it kind of reminds us of our trips. So, anyways. And
that's typically what we would have done too with picking a picture. Like, oh, this is the best one, or maybe two, whatever. Like I said, this time we just said, you know what, it's going to be a fun trip. Let's splurge a little bit and do the whole thing. And it was nice. We got a little USB drive that they sent us with all the photos.
And especially with your whole family there too, parents, sister, and whatnot. So I think that's kind of a special time to do it.
Absolutely.
Well, so you guys like to walk off with your stuff right away. Do you tend to go to cabanas, or do you go to the restaurant last night, or what do you guys do that last day?
So we actually don't even usually eat on board. we just kind of say, all right, let's get off and let's go, let's get home. My dad and I, we actually work together. So we actually went back to work that day.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. But, it was a light day because we didn't want to, go too crazy getting back. But for us, it's like, let's just get off and get home. And I think we stopped. My son was really bummed about leaving. So we stopped at McDonald's and got him some food from there. And that cheered him up a little bit. Mm-hmm. He still gets sad every now and then. He'll tell him, he calls it Mickey's boat. And that's what he calls it. And he always tells me, he's like, I miss Mickey's boat. I'm like, I do too, bud. We'll just have to go again. So.
Well, thinking back on this cruise, and not to put you on the spot this way whatsoever, but and you've been on the Very Maritime cruise. You kind of think about those two. Which would you gravitate to go back towards? And I know you had some weather problems on the Very Maritime, but just as overall theming and stuff like that, which one would you guys go back and do again?
For me, it's not close, and this is just me. And like I said earlier, we're not really Halloween people, but we are Christmas people. So we would 100% do Very Maritime again. The only difference is we'd probably do it a little bit earlier, maybe in like November, as opposed to when we did it in December last year.
And then I've got just a couple more questions before we finish up. Living in Central Florida like you guys do, what are your thoughts about cruising out of Miami? Now that the new ships are coming, they're probably going to put the LNG ones there at Port Canaveral, which, lucky you'll be able to sail on those. But what are your thoughts about driving down to Miami? I'm just curious about your perspective on that.
I'm trying to remember. I think I've gone out of Miami once. Now, it was with a different line, and it doesn't stand out to me as being necessarily negative. Mm-hmm. I think that for me, and this is just me personally, it's all about the itinerary and where it's going. I told you earlier about how I've been kind of binge listening to your guys' podcast, and I want to do that Mediterranean and Norway cruise so bad. That's what I want to do. But so to me, going out of Miami, it wouldn't really matter to me as long as I was going to a place I wanted to go. I did some research recently. There's a 5-day Western Caribbean out of Miami that I'd love to do on one of the older boats, the Magic, I think it is. So to me, I can drive down there. It's no big deal. Driving is driving. Eventually, I'm going to get on a boat and have a ton of fun.
Now, do you know, I fly into the airport all the time into MCO, but I think they were originally going to put a high-speed rail between Orlando and Miami. Do you know anything about that?
It's still coming. I used to work out there. It's coming along. It's a big... Orlando International Airport's going through a big kind of revitalization. They're building a new terminal out there, and attached to that terminal is going to be this train station with a high-speed rail. So it's just a matter of when they get it all finished.
Right. So,
and now I will say this as well. That was when I was working there. I'm not working there anymore, so that things could change. So, but that was what the plan was originally.
Yeah, you can definitely see the tracks leading into that terminal as they've been building it. So, for people like myself that may fly in, do the parks a couple days, and then if we had something out of Miami, might be a faster way or easy way to get down there besides renting a car. It'll be interesting to see what happens with it.
Absolutely.
So, well, thinking about different itineraries, you guys have done mostly, you've done all the Bahamas with Disney. Mm-hmm. What would be the cruise that you would like to do next if you could do something outside of the Bahamas? Or when do you guys do something outside of the Bahamas?
So what I want to do and what I'm going to do are two completely different things. But if I had, carte blanche, I could do anything. I want to do the Mediterranean so bad. Just looking at those ports and the different excursions you can do, that just looks incredible to me. Alaska is always something I've wanted to do as well. And like I said earlier, I haven't been on the Fantasy yet. I'd love to do that. So if I could, I'd do a Western Caribbean itinerary there, Cozumel, Grand Cayman, that stuff.
Just to finish up, did you guys book another cruise, or what's your thoughts on that?
We haven't booked yet. The nature of the work that we're in, we can't really plan that far ahead. And so we definitely know we want to do something again. It's just a matter of finding the right thing. We were talking about how we think it would be fun to do a bigger one on the Fantasy, or like I mentioned earlier, one of the classic ships doing something like a Western out of Miami or something like that. So who knows? We'll see what happens next year.
Well, that's perfect. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'm a little envious of you guys living down there where you can kind of watch those rates, and when something opens up and a weekend opens up or whatever else, you can pop over there and do it. So good on you for being able to do that. So
absolutely. And the other thing I would say that I really do want to do, I'd love to do a Marvel Day at Sea and a Star Wars Day at Sea.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anyone else in my family wants to do it, but I'm down.
Are your kids into Star Wars or Marvel?
I'm not. I have not shown my 4-year-old Star Wars yet, and wait until he's 5. He and I have recently started watching the Spider-Man show that's on Disney Channel, and he really likes that. But I'm not ready to show him the MCU yet or anything like that. Let's let him get a little older before I take him down that path. But Star Wars is coming next year. I've already warned my wife that's happening.
Oh man, my youngest is a huge Star Wars fan, so yeah, enjoy it seeing kind of them experience, like what you've experienced. It's kind of cool to see it through their eyes and see where they go with it. So enjoy that.
Absolutely. Well, it was cool because I've been able to do that. We mentioned earlier the parks, and like I've gotten to see that these past few years with them there, and it's like changed the way I go and experience Disney and the cruise as well, because I would have never been waiting in line for characters on the cruise the last time I went. But now seeing how excited they get and seeing how excited they are for doing things like that, it changes the way I do it. I enjoy it. I love it.
Well, as we finish up, Matt, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and sharing your and your family's trip on the Dream. And when you guys go on your next cruise, please drop us a line and we'll have you back on and we'll talk to our Disney Cruise Line.
Absolutely, Steve. Thanks so much for having me on. Well, like I said, I really love what you guys do. I love hearing other people's experiences, and I'm glad I got to share mine a little bit today.
Well, happy holidays to you and your family, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I'd really like to thank Matt for coming on and taking time out of his busy schedule to share his and his family's 3-day cruise on the Disney Dream, featuring Halloween on the High Seas. And Christy and I will be back with our first show together here, hopefully before the end of this week. If not, we'll have it out beginning of next week, kind of with a look ahead as some of the things that we're planning on doing in 2019 and some of the things that we're going to plan on bringing to you with the show as well. And if anybody's going to be down at Walt Disney World this weekend running over Marathon Weekend, I want to wish you the best of luck in whatever race you're running. I'll be running Sunday with my brother and his partner on the Walt Disney World Marathon. So once again, best of luck if you're going to be out there running this weekend. If you'd like to get a hold of Christy or I between now and our next show, you can always reach me, Steve, at DCL Podcast on Facebook or on Twitter. Of course, you can always find Christy over at packyourpixiedust.com, Pack Your Pixie Dust on Facebook, and PackYR Pixie Dust on Twitter. So if you and your family are heading out on your next vacation between now and our next show, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe travels as you head out on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.